And to you monsters trapped in the corridors, be still and give up your spirits. They don't belong to you. For most of you, I believe there is peace and perhaps more waiting for you after the smoke clears. Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole. So don't keep the devil waiting, friend.
Jeez, Scott. I know we didn't get along all the time, but condemning me to hell seems a bit extreme. Seriously though, can we turn on some air conditioning here or something? It's getting a bit warm in here. Oh wait, it is me because I'm wearing my snuggly new Game Theory merch. And you too can be getting hotter than a serial killer in a burning death trap because starting right now, new merch is available via the link in the description. Do you know the way to good fashion? Well, I will show you the way, because not only do we have this nifty hoodie with embroidered patches that make you feel like you're wearing a warm, stylish blanket, we also have new shirts with a stunning slimming design so you can look and feel great even after stuffing your face with budget pizza from a defunct children's restaurant. And they wash great, especially when you're using Tide Pods, go figure. It's gonna be spring soon and spring tends to get kinda chilly, but don't worry, cause I got you covered with another item that I think's the bomb. A bomber jacket, complete with Game Theory lining so that you too can pull a mat pad and walk around in jackets all year long, even when it's too hot to be doing so. Then for all those who want to secretly show off their theorist pride, we got socks! Because honestly, people who wear fun, colorful, nerdy socks are like my favorite people in the world. I have 20 pairs of nerdy socks ranging from like Deadpool to Rick and Morty, and now Game Theory's in the collection, and you could add it to your collection too. And finally, we have men's and women's underwear, perfect for your top and your bottom. Call it Game Theory Intimates. It's a new year, get yourself some new gear. Plus, every order comes with a special Winter 2018 pin, as well as a chance to win something that is really special. Only 100 orders will come packaged with this, a special limited edition Golden Theory coin. Not only is it just super cool to get a real gold coin, it also may serve as your ticket to a very special event happening later this year. It's basically like Willy Wonka and his golden tickets, except for gamers and less caloric. But I have to warn you, supplies of everything are super limited. We know that things took way too long last time to get to you, so we've partnered with a new team to ensure that you get your orders faster and with way better customer service. Unlike last time, everything is already printed, waiting in boxers and eager to find a new home in your arms, or on your stanky feet, or covering your unmentionables. Shipping is international, sizes are like what you'd get in the store, and again, to ensure that you get stuff fast, this is all super limited edition prints. Once it is gone, it is gone for good. So make sure you place your orders now, because who knows what'll be available a week from now. And once it arrives, send us a picture of you in the merch. Except for the underwear. I don't want to get arrested. Anyway, enough shilling. Let's talk about the end of this channel's most popular franchise. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, where let's just take a collective moment and get this all out of the way. Say it with me now. Another Fnaf video. You said the last one was gonna be your last. Yeah, I know, but I also said this. Now, don't get mad at me when the new game comes out in a few weeks and everyone tells me to do another theory about it. And true enough to form, that's exactly what happened. I released my final two-parter theory on the subject, and exactly 1 month later, Fnaf 6, disguised under the fan game-esque name of Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, gets released. Now, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if you all thought that Scott and I were the same person. Come to think of it, you have never seen us in the same room together at the same time. Anyway, the game came out over 2 months ago, and ever since I've had countless people asking me for the theory. Over 10 people in the last week alone stopped me on the street and asked for a Fnaf episode. And that's not even mentioning all the emails I've gotten in that time. So for Ben, Steven, Phil, Cassie, Matt, Lucas, Sarah, Alex, Matt number 2, and NBA Rookie of last year, Karl Anthony Towns, that's no joke actually, as well as everyone who has sent in something requesting an episode on Fnaf, this one, and potentially one squeezed between this one and the next theory, and maybe even a third one down the line at some point, those are all for you. Now, Fnaf 6 was a very different game from any of the ones that came before, not because it had a weird roller coaster tycoon-esque metagame connecting all the security camera maintenance you've come to know and tolerate from this series, but because its much more explicit than usual. This game has a lot of talking, accompanied by clear visual storytelling to reinforce what you're hearing, meaning that a lot of the major plot points of this game are fairly easy to understand, which has gotta be like a first for the entirety of this franchise. FNAF 6 is filled with a sense of finality. It's clearly meant to tie up all the loose ends and serve as the last game of the series. Or, let me be clear, the last part of the series covering what I'm gonna call the Purple Guy saga. It's like Dragon Ball Z up in here. A saga which begins with a series of murders that result in animatronics coming to life, continues with the Afton family meeting with a series of terrible fates, and ends with the spirits of everyone involved getting closure, one way or another. Because this game feels much more obvious in its story, many online theorists have chosen to focus on the major story beats, actively ignoring the game's more unusual bits, the wrinkles that don't quite fit in cleanly. But it's in those wrinkles that we find answers to some of the longest held questions of the franchise, and the clues that we need to finally put the whole puzzle together. So stick with me and prepare to get a little wrinkly like a toe left in the bathtub for too long, because while today is certainly a theory, or rather multiple theories all in one episode, it's also me trying to open the door to you guys, equipping you with the information necessary to discuss the final points lingering around the edge of this mysterious franchise, finally closing the book on the Purple Guy saga. Now, before I get to the deep lore here, let me quickly run through the major reveals of this game just to make sure that we're all working with the same understanding. In the aftermath of FNAF 3's Happiest Day minigame, the spirits of Freddy, Foxy, Bonnie, Chica, and Golden Freddy have all been put to rest, which left only the lingering threads of Springtrap with William Afton inside, Ennard with Baby inside, Michael Afton, I'm a living corpse who used to have robot tentacles inside, and the puppet with nothing inside. Prior to the release of this game, Scott's two websites, scottgames.com and fnafworld.com, were talking to each other in their source code, a conversation which showed Baby and Ennard getting into a fight, and Baby basically getting voted out of the tribe, which is why in this new game the two are once again separate entities. Ennard in this game assumes the form of Molten Freddy, which, adding in this game's other new edition of Rockstar Freddy, brings the total number of different Freddy forms across the entire series to 12. 12 different Freddys alone. And you'll wonder why this game is confusing to talk about. Baby, meanwhile, becomes Scrap Baby, complete with a lobster claw and roller skates because Scott was like, wee, it's my final game, I can make the designs whatever the hell I want to. Springtrap now has a cleft chin, and heck, why not? There's a weird black bear named Lefty, because why the heck not throw a 13th bear onto the pile? Throughout the game, you're not only tasked with handling the best characters ever, featuring such standouts as Number 1 Crate and Mr. Hugs, but every night you'll find one of your old friends out in that back alley, and it's your task per paragraph 4 of your employment contract to salvage that animatronic, bringing them into your establishment.
If you are playing this tape, that means that not only have you been checking outside at the end of every shift, as you were instructed to do, but also that you have found something that meets the criteria of your special obligations under paragraph 4.
Fast forward a couple nights to the true ending of the game, where we learned that the whole pizzeria was just a trap made to lure the stray animatronics into the same place at the same time, so that they and the horrors of Freddy Fazbear's could be finished off once and for all in a final blaze of glory, even though that technically happened once before in FNAF 3 and Springtrap survived. But hey, who's counting? Me, but you know, that's what I do. And who of all people set up this trap? What is the identity of this mysterious cassette man? Well, the first clue we get is actually in the closing monologue.
Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole. So don't keep the devil waiting, friend.
It's an old friend of William Afton's, Henry, no last name given. And if that lack of a last name sounds familiar, well, it should. I mentioned this guy a lot during that dark period where I used information from the books for my sister location theories. In the book series, he's the animatronic genius who partnered with William to create the Freddy bots. And this isn't only speculation. One of the secret endings, the insanity ending, proves that this is Henry. If during the game you buy this freak show egg creature for way too much money, it causes your computer's power button to switch from green to blue. If you then hold the power button like you're starting the computer in safe mode, it causes a hidden recording to play. An audio tape that happens to be labeled HRY, Henry. But the insanity ending shows us even more than just a light connection back to the novels. As Henry talks about his regret over ever helping William create the animatronics and his plan to lure everyone together to finish this off once and for all, we're shown a series of secret blueprints. Most of them provide a bit more detail into how this wacky world works. We're shown that Afton's scooper from Sister Location functions by infusing things with, for lack of a better term, soul energy, what Afton calls remnant. This is how Michael was able to survive as a purple corpse post his Ennard enema. We also see that Molten Freddy, formerly Ennard, still contains the souls of Ballora, Funtime Freddy, and Funtime Foxy, and that our mission under paragraph 4 is to specifically collect and destroy the remnant once and for all. Remnant is destroyed by overheating, hence the fire at the end. We even learn the detail that literally no one was asking for: how to simulate children. The RASC, or Remote Activated Simulated C I'm assuming stands for child, simulates body temperatures of 98.6 degrees and then runs around making child noises, hence how you're able to lure all the murderous animatronics around in this game, and also probably Fnaf 3. But what's most surprising is the final blueprint. Lefty, that oddball black bear that just showed up in this game. A bear that, according to its acronym, is programmed to lure something by emitting a bracelet code and then encapsulate it with a combination of lullabies and controlled shocks. A bear suit that was made by Henry that has the sole purpose of capturing none other than the puppet. You can even tell it's already accomplished its goal if you look closely at this rare screen you sometimes get when you boot up the game. The signature striped arm of the puppet showing through the Lefty animatronic. But it doesn't stop there. If you buy and then play the security puppet minigame 3 times over the course of your week in the restaurant, you see a child trapped outside the pizzeria wearing a bracelet. The puppet, a security device of all things, is trained to respond to her specific bracelet code, green, and so it chases her outside only to find her dying in the alley. Short-circuiting from the rain that's pouring down around it, it lies down next to her and the two fuse into one. And this lines up with exactly what we hear in the game's true ending.
My daughter, if you can hear me, I knew you would return as well. It's in your nature to protect the innocent. I couldn't save you then, so let me save you now. It's time to rest, for you and for those you have carried in your arms.
Henry's daughter, the first victim, is the puppet, the one who gave life to everyone that came after her and gave peace to their souls in Fnaf 3. Finally confirmed after I'd been predicting it for 3 years since the release of Fnaf 2. So there you have it. Henry from the books is now canon in the games. His daughter is the puppet trapped inside Lefty. Everyone, including Michael, dies in the Fnaf 6 fire, and baby's name is established as Elizabeth in Henry's closing monologue. It's all pretty cut and dry. I mean, if you want to get really deep, the images on the walls in the alley are actually blurry contracts. You can tell based on the bullet points and oddly short paragraphs, which I have seen more than enough time to identify at a glance. And all of that relates back to that theme of what is paragraph 4, which has been Scott's calling card for this game. The creepy imagery of the ventriloquist and clown that you also see in the alleyway isn't teasing some new game like a lot of people have been assuming, but rather it's just an artistic recreation of the Afton family. William is the ventriloquist. The dummy, who looks exactly like him, represents Michael Afton, who, as we know, looks just like his father, just a smaller version of him, and has to parrot back a lot of what his father tells him to do. Elizabeth, aka Baby, is the clown, for fairly obvious reasons, and the bear on the leash is just Crying Child, a child who is trapped and held back by his family, who ultimately dies in the hands of Fredbear. Fnaf 6 even offers explanations for the inappropriate costumes that were mentioned by the phone guy calls from Fnaf 3. Yeah, you remember those?
Until replacements arrive, you will be expected to wear the temporary costumes provided to you. Keep in mind that they were found on very short notice, so questions about appropriateness/relevance should be deflected.
They're the Mediocre Melodies crew from this game, which also happen to match up perfectly to the other masks that you see during Fnaf 3's Happiest Day minigame. A green one is Happy Frog, the pink one is Pig Patch, Mr. Hippo is purple, there's some blue one for some reason, and then Orville the elephant is the orange one with the long nose. But for as much as Fnaf 6 explains, and it explains a lot pretty explicitly, it leaves open 3 huge questions. 3 questions that no one has been able to answer for the past 2 months until now. Or at least I'm pretty confident that I can answer 2 of those questions. For the 3rd one, I'm gonna need your help. Now, you don't need too much to get that true ending. You just salvage all the animatronics and survive all the nights. It's basic FNAFing 101. But there's another layer to this game, an ending that goes one step beyond just the base storyline. The Lore Keeper ending, where things start to get complicated in a hurry. To unlock it, you have to play 3 specific minigames through to completion: Security Puppet, Fruity Maze, and Midnight Motorist. Security Puppet was easy to explain. The others, though, are where the questions start to pop up. In Fruity Maze, the game starts to become more and more unstable as you progress through the 3 levels. By the end of the 3rd stage, collectibles have transformed into slaughtered dogs and burial flowers. Your on-screen avatar is trailing bloody footprints, and the blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl reflected in the arcade screen is crying. And for good reason, since standing behind her is none other than the purple guy, dressed in his golden best. Now, this one's confused a lot of online theorists, but in my opinion, requires some process of elimination to solve. FNAF 6 is all about tying up loose ends, right? And at this point, the puppets set the souls of FNAF's core 4 of Freddy, Foxy, Bonnie, and Chica, as well as Golden Freddy free in the Happiest Day minigame. Baby, the sister location crew, Springtrap, and the puppet are all taken care of by Henry in the true ending of FNAF 6, and the 3 toy animatronics from FNAF 2, which do seem to legitimately be tied to a security database, are scrapped at the end of their game. So who or what does that leave? Mangle. But I'm not saying that the girl is Mangle, I'm telling you it's her dog. Mangle is William Afton's first successful experiment with Remnant, Dog Remnant. Which, now that I say it out loud, sounds a lot more like Dog Duty than Miracle Soul formula, but let me explain. We obviously see that the girl's crying, but it's not because she's scared. We actually see that Will Trap is able to have a normal conversation with her, saying, "He's not dead, he's still alive, follow me." She's crying because her dog died, as represented on the screen, and that's the he that William's referencing here. Your dog is not dead, he is still alive, and we have proof that William isn't lying about this either. It's an odd detail that I've never talked about, which is pretty incredible that after so many of these darn videos I'm still pulling out random factoids to piece into this puzzle, but in the Save Them minigame from way back in FNAF 2, you're in a building filled with 5 dead kids and Purple Guy. All the other animatronics are stationary except for one, Mangle. Alive and well, and unlike every other animatronic in the entire series, roaming around on all 4s. Even though Mangle technically walks around on 3 legs, but you get the point. A design decision so important that we see Scott keep it in Mangle's quest from FNAF 3 as well. Mangle is alive without the puppet giving him gifts or giving him life. So how is the Mangle animatronic moving in this moment? William, experimenting with animals and Remnant. And as we see in the Fruity Maze, William uses the fact that the dog is still alive to lure this girl to her death, allowing her to be reunited with her dog forever. For more proof, notice that the dead dog in the Fruity Maze minigame is actually missing an eye, a detail that we see at share with Mangle. Additionally, you ever notice how Mangle is the only animatronic that actually doesn't possess any human-like noises? The core 4 all feature moaning, sighs, or laughs at various points throughout the series. Ballora, Baby, Springtrap, and the Fun Times all talk. Even the Nightmare animatronics breathe, which is a whole nother can of worms I'm not opening up today, but Mangle just has garbled radio noises, almost like its cognitive functioning is much less than all the other possessed creatures in the series. So that's Fruity Maze, but then comes the biggie. Perhaps the most vague and bizarre moments from FNAF 6 come from the hidden Easter eggs in the final Lore Keeper minigame, Midnight Motorist. It starts simple enough. A top-down racer game, but glitch through an opening in the bottom of the track, and suddenly you're on a rainy drive through a rural tree-filled landscape, visiting a bar named Junior's, and eventually making your way to a lonely house hidden deep in the woods. Out pops the driver, and he's orange? Thanks, Scott. We finally solved the identity of Purple Guy, and you just had to throw in one final monochromatic mystery man. Orange Guy? I like to call him Mustard Man. He charges into the house and rages at the fact that someone, presumably his son, has locked himself in his room. He goes around the back to find a way in, only to discover that the window is broken with a set of footprints and some bear tracks, leading to, quote, that place again. And that's it. The minigame abruptly ends there. No matter how many times you replay this game, it's always the same. It's weird, it's disturbing, and most of all, it's frustrating, since it seems to introduce all new characters in a game that's mostly about bringing every other character's story to a close. But are these truly new faces? No. Look first at the house. A lone house in a clearing surrounded by trees. Believe it or not, but we've actually seen this house before on the title screen to Fnaf 4. A lone house in a clearing surrounded by trees. Not only that, but both houses have two stories. Even the roofs look roughly the same. But now think back to a quote that I mentioned last episode about how Scott writes these stories. Quote, there have been other times, however, when my original intentions didn't come across clearly. In those instances, I make a point to clarify in the next game. Fnaf 6 is all about clarifying, explaining Remnant, explaining the scooper, the puppet, and what's our connective tissue in this minigame? Someone sitting in a living room watching TV. And what did we see at the end of every night of Sister Location? Michael Afton going home after his shift to watch TV. That slouchy figure there may look like a balding grandma, but it's good old Mike Casual Bongos Afton himself binging on his Immortal and the Restless. And I can further prove it via his text. Scott has always roughly adhered to the convention of dialogue colors being important. And this final game is no exception to this rule. Green bouncer dude talks in green, orange guy talks in orange, and Michael Afton on the couch talks in gray. Exactly like he did when he was laughing at his crying brother back in Fnaf 4. It's definitely a slightly different shade, but he's also the only one in the entirety of this series to speak in gray lettering. They also both wear gray shirts, only the truly fashionable match their t-shirt to their font color. Couple all of that with him watching TV, the Fnaf 4 title screen house, which always has a TV in it, and the character being protective over some him, say a younger brother, and you have yourself the perfect portrait of the Afton family, which would make Orange Guy Purple Guy, otherwise known as William Afton. He's even got a signature purple car, the same one that we saw him use in the Fnaf 2 Take Cake minigame before he killed off Henry's daughter. But why? Why would Scott choose to make William Afton some color other than purple for like the first time ever in the final game in the series? The answer is actually kind of mundane, because by this point in the series, there are two different purple guys, William and his son. It would have been confusing from a storytelling standpoint, though I do gotta say, Scott, it's not that much better, since now you're swapping in a whole new color for a character who's been represented by another color the whole time. It's a bit confusing. Anyway, what does all of this mean? Why, out of all things, did Scott choose to show us this random scene? What is he trying to explain about the story through the battle between an orange William Afton and a runaway child? All of that in just a few days. This video is really long already. Plus, in a game that tries to answer everything from the entirety of the series, what was in the Fnaf 4 box? Was it truly left forgotten forever? Is Scott waiting to reveal its contents in a future game? Make sure you take a bite out of that subscribe button to find out those final answers, as well as the solution to perhaps the biggest question of them all, the Lore Keeper's final screen. After unlocking all of these glitched minigames, Scott presents us with a series of gravestones filled with names. Some familiar, and some not so much. So, who are they? What do they reveal about the story? And how can you help me to solve Five Nights' last and most closely guarded secrets? All of that next time! In the meantime, though, remember, Game Theory merch is now available, but hopefully by this point it's selling out faster than a YouTuber with a Loot Crate sponsorship. So make sure you're getting your Theorist hoodie, shirt, jacket, socks, or underwear before they're gone by clicking the link you see on screen right now or in the top line of that description. The only thing scarier than Fnaf? Missing out on these items celebrating your Theorist pride. And remember, once this is all out of stock, the only merch left will be Logan and Jake Paul's. That, my friends, is a horror far scarier than deadly animatronics.